everybody, my name's Steve, I'm the British Railroader and welcome to my model railroad room for another instalment in my great American adventure. So in this video we're going to look at the three museums, well, two museums and one scenic railway that I went on whilst I was staying in Pennsylvania. So my good friend Andy Blenko wanted to make sure that I got to see a wide range of things. And we went on a little road trip for a couple of days, staying at the Station Inn, which I'm going to put a picture up and tell you where it is because I can't remember off the top of my head. This little inn overlooks the railway tracks, so we got to see quite a few trains go past. And on those 2 days that we were away, on the first day, we went to the Railroaders Memorial Museum in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This is a lovely little museum, and we spent a couple of hours just sort of mooching around, having a look at the exhibits, etc. After this, we also had a little bit of a drive around Altoona and look at the railway yards, and I'm just going to put some pictures up afterwards of the engine servicing facility, the Norfolk Southern one that is in Altoona. Now, the next day, we went to the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, which is over in Strasburg. So we went almost all the way over to the eastern side of Pennsylvania. It freaked me a little bit that the fact we actually passed through Maryland to get to another part of Pennsylvania. I mean, you know, that's kind of really weird that you've had to go through one state to get to another part of the same state that you're in. But anyway, the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania is fantastic. It is just across the road from the Strasburg Railway, which is kind of a preserved steam railway, a sort of a touristy scenic railroad. We didn't go on that. We concentrated on the museum because we're not, me and Andy, we're not big steam lovers. We do like our diesels and our electrics. So I'm going to put some pictures up from there as well. Now, on my last day in Pennsylvania, a few days after we'd been to the museums, Andy arranged for us to go on the Potomac Eagle Scenic Railroad. Now, the Potomac Eagle Scenic Railroad is actually in Romney in West Virginia, and it's primarily there to take you through some very lovely sort of like canyons and whatever, and go and look at the bald eagles. And we did see a few. I've not taken any photos. My camera wasn't big enough to pick out these tiny, tiny little dots of white and brown. But for me and for Andy and for Charlie, who came with us, his son and their friend Bob, the main thing was actually riding on a heritage train. So we were in basically an old stainless steel dining car. But the most important thing for me was the fact that at one end of our train, we were being hauled by a preserved EMD F7 locomotive. And so whilst there are a few pictures of the general run, the film that I took on this one was mainly once we got back to the depot, was the actual locomotive doing its last minute kind of getting everything ready for the next day. Just some sort of running up and down the line. It was great to see an F7 in action. Now, even though this video is about museums, I haven't included the New York Transit Museum. I'm going to include that in a future video where I talk about subways, etc., because it kind of fits more in with that. But also with the museums, there isn't a lot of filmed footage, and most of it is photographs. So I will kind of talk you through these photos as I put them up. Museums don't always lend themselves to being filmed, unfortunately, but there's a little bit of film from the Potomac Eagle. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. So we're starting with the Railroaders Memorial Museum in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now, this is situated right by the railway tracks, just opposite Amtrak's Altoona Railroad Station, and is set in some beautiful grounds and in a beautifully restored building. Now, this is a real homage to the Pennsylvania Railroad and the people that worked in Altoona on the railroad. There are a huge number of exhibits. Some of them are quite interactive, but we'll have a look at those in just a moment. There is in the museum a large HO scale model railroad. It does have some automation that you can press buttons and get trains to run. There's some fantastic modelling going on here, very detailed, and obviously to represent the area in and around Altoona. Now, like a lot of museum exhibits, it didn't always work. I did try pressing the button a few times. The passenger train, the lights came on and that was about it. But there was a freight train running, but as you can see here, it's a little bit backwards because the locomotive, for some reason, is at the other end with the caboose pushing it. But there you go, at least something was running. Also, there were some static model displays. I love this one with the MP54s and a couple of other smaller ones just depicting various industrial scenes around the area. Some great modelling going on here. As I said, some of the exhibits were interactive. This one is meant to be one of the senior managers from the Pennsylvania Railroad, and when you walk in, he starts talking to you, though he doesn't move. There's no animatronics here like in Disney. Again, lots of other exhibits, a few models, especially GG1s, obviously well known for the area. A little bit of a nod here to what came after the Pennsylvania Railroad. There's a stuffed lion. I'm not going to explain why. Go find out. I like this museum. It is really, really nice. It's got an outside area. There are a few exhibits out here you can go and look at, like this little mock-up of a cab that you can have your picture taken in. Unfortunately, the roundhouse was shut. It does have a few engines, including a GG1 in there. But there are lots of exhibits around the turntable that you can go and get up close to and have a look at, which I always quite like. You've got this horseshoe curve memorial wagon that was donated by Norfolk Southern. You can see across to where the railroad station is and see trains go past. There's a few old cabooses and various bits and pieces like that. Now, as I said, while we were in the area, we went and looked at the Norfolk Southern yard that's there. We came across this area. So this is Norfolk Southern's own turntable with lots of engines standing around waiting for probably servicing. There's a body shell there. It's like you want a prototype for everything on your model. You just put a body shell onto a flat car. It was quite interesting seeing this. There wasn't much moving around, but it was good to see some of the infrastructure that Norfolk Southern uses. Okay, so now we're moving to the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania over in Strasbourg. So this is a slightly different kind of railroad museum. This is the kind of railroad museum that I'm used to, a bit like the National Railroad Museum up at York. It's full of exhibits, and the exhibits are all to do with railroads in and around Pennsylvania, as you would expect. And of course, those successor railroads like Conrail. They've got loads of bits and pieces. They've, as you can see, a bit of Penn Central here. For me, the crowning exhibit was this beautifully restored Pennsylvania Railroad GG1. Now, I'm a big lover of overhead electrics, and if you love overhead electrics and you love American railroads, you have got to be in love with the GG1. I mean, it is just such an iconic locomotive. The smooth, air smoothing, the styling, the pinstripes. I even like this thing in plain Penn Central black and Amtrak bloody nose because it's such a beautiful locomotive. Now, the museum had quite an extensive HO scale layout. It was a really, really good layout, split into kind of like a very urban scene, moving through to more countryside. Now, as you know, I'm an urban modeler, so most of my photography, as you can see, was concentrated on these urban scenes. I love this detail in the station, just underneath the concourse. You've got all of these little cameos, all of these little bits and pieces. I mean, this high level track has catenary on it, and there's a lot of catenary on the layout because it depicts kind of, I suppose, an amalgam of the railroads around Pennsylvania. And there wasn't a lot of electrification, certainly in the eastern part. Now, of course, it did move into the more countryside scenes, and my photography unfortunately got less and less, but some beautifully detailed layout. It's well worth going just to see this. I mean, this is something quite special. Now, as you move back into the main hall, as you can see, there are lots of locomotives here. There are lots of older electric locos, which I was really pleased about. Obviously, you've got more contemporary diesel. It's a GP30, my friend Andy's least favourite of the EMDs. There are things like boxcars and, as I said before, covered hoppers. Just wandering around this museum, I mean, just shows you the kind of locomotives that were used. Yes, there were steam locomotives, but as I said earlier, I'm not a big steam fan, so I concentrated especially on the electrics. Now, moving outside, there are a lot of static displays. Again, a lot of electric locos, which I was really pleased to see, including this GG1. So this is the original GG1, the one with riveted sides instead of welded, so it's not smooth-sided. There's an Amtrak E60CP. I'm really pleased that one of these has been preserved. It's good to see that the electric preservation is actually alive. And then lastly, what we've got here is a Bud RDC1. You gotta love an RDC. Now we move to West Virginia and the Potomac Eagle. Now, as I said earlier, this is a scenic railway, and it's there for people to go and look at the scenery and whatever. But for me, and probably for the other guys, the train was the most important thing, especially this beautiful F unit, which I'm showing you bits and pieces of its bogies, etc. I absolutely loved riding on this train. This was a little bit of nostalgia. Amtrak doesn't quite meet the same expectations as some of this more classic stuff. Now, whilst I was there, I did actually take some film. So it's not just all of these photos of the train and a few bits of scenery. I was able to do a little bit of filming from the window of the train as we went past their little maintenance yard. So there'll be a quick flash of some bits and pieces of other train action. But then at the end, because it was the end of the day, the F unit was marshalling the various passenger cars about. So we stood and watched that for a little while. So I'm just going to play that video as well, because it's just wonderful just to hear the engine just, throbbing. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, that's it from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, then please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. It's absolutely free and it helps me a lot getting my numbers up. If you do subscribe, a little bell will come up, click it, press all, and you will be notified of all my videos as they are released. If you have any comments or questions, then you can either post them below or you can email me direct on this email address, which is coming across the screen right now. I can also be found on all of these social media sites, so feel free to follow me, make friends with me, all of those kind of things. And again, you can message me through social media if you prefer. But that's it from me. My name's Steve. I'm the British Railroader. I'm saying goodbye from my model railroad room. Bye bye.